It's about winning trophies. I'm inexperienced in a lot of those things.
3-0.
Sorry for smiling there.
Almost lost the cup and you win it. The new European champions, the treble, the dream come true for you.
Oh, I can't believe it. I can't believe it. Football, bloody hell. But they never give in. And that's the winner.
Welcome to the American Red Devils podcast. I'm John.
I'm Alex.
And we're bringing you the best Manchester United news from this side of the pond.
Woo, sir. How we doing? How we doing? The American Devils are back in the great US of A. Good to be home. Still fighting off those dark gales from night one. Still fighting off jet lag. But either way, Manchester United are back this week. We've got double action on the menu. We have Forest coming up on Wednesday, tomorrow, sir, right around the corner. We're going 5th round, FA Cup proper, Nottingham Forest. And then we have City on the weekend at the Empty Head. But either way, the story of the week, there's always a Manchester United in the news, is Erik ten Hag hot seat. You mentioned it in the hot takes, like the knives are out. You were talking about it. We were in London. You were reading the papers. And I don't know the journal that you were referencing, but they were going full knives out on Ten Hag. So big week for him. Forest, going to be a tough one because Forest are always frisky. We got a shit ton of injuries. And then City, who did they beat? They beat Luton. I think Holland scored 5 goals. 5 fucking goals. As many as Rashford has in the whole EPL season. But, sir, how we doing? How we feeling?
Sir, doing good. Back from London. Great weekend. Tons of great games. Obviously, the United game. Great to be at Old Trafford, but, man, brutal loss to Fulham. I think this really kicked the Hornets' nest. An easy team coming to Old Trafford. Team finally trying to find some good form, trying to win 5 in a row, really sort of punching up in the table, trying to get European football, and then a back-breaking loss to Fulham. So at the end of the day, the floodgates just open this week. Ducker, I was reading the paper at Colbert in London the next morning, and man, he was going so hard in on Ten Hag. To be fair, Ten Hag did come out after the game and kind of did the whole, we should have won, we played great, even though it was clear it was just a brutal game and a brutal loss. So I do understand he's trying to shine up a turd, and the journalists are just throwing it right back at him. I think from the journalist perspective, seeing that tide turn so swiftly and so hard is interesting. We've seen many managers manage Manchester United, but one of the elements of being a manager is managing the press. And the press don't like it when you try to shine up a turd. So there's a little bit of that, and there's a little bit of, hey, we haven't been playing well when we've been winning, so they're just gathering all that ammo ready to knock them. And look, this is why Nottingham Forest is such a big game. Some could say, hey, this is the FA Cup game. We could go on and win the FA Cup, but this is really back against the wall stuff for the manager, the players, and everything. And from what we saw at Fulham, at Old Trafford, the players didn't look too interested. Rashford wasn't running. Varane looked very nonchalant. So with these injuries and all these bluffing headlines coming out, it's going to be really interesting to see how we show up at Nottingham Forest away, because they're going to be up for it. It's a big, big game, and United have to win. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it.
100%, sir. The team needs a win. The manager definitely needs a win, and the fans are dying for a win, especially the nature of which we did lose that Fulham game, coming out like such lame ducks, rolling over that first half, not waking up until we actually conceded, and then throwing the kitchen sink and having a little bit of a rally and conceding the winner to Iwobi at the death. So just a brutal way to go out. And I think the Knights have been ready, sir. These are the same journos that called for Erik ten Hag's head, if you remember, after 2 games in the EPL. So they've been ready. The fans, they're frustrated, rightly so. I'm frustrated. The performances have been poor. The results have been good enough, even with the 4 in a row in the league and the 5 in the row overall. It's like you knew we've been chancing it, and even though XG-wise, we actually edged Fulham. I couldn't even believe that. We were due to the luck to run out. And right now, feels like when the luck's going to start running out, and it feels like this is going to be a big test to see how Ratcliffe, there's a lot of R's, sir. Ratcliffe and Co., Brailsford. I don't know if Amar is calling any shots yet, but like how quickly they like to trade, how fast they want to make a move. Do they want to wait till the summer and do it quietly? I feel like whenever you do it in the middle of a season, it just gets more attention than, like some kind of announcement quietly at the end. But either way, it's a must-win game at Forest. It's going to be a hard game. They're going to be up for it, like you said, and anything but a dub will be considered a disaster.
No, it will be. It has this type of feeling right now where, we had a good start to 2024, a lot of rest, getting people back, then more injuries. Again, this has just been the issue of the entire season. And shit football. So we play shit football at Manchester United and you don't get results, you're going to have a bad time. There's just no way around that. It looks bad. You go in person, it's worse than you expect. The Stretford End, the quietest I've ever seen it. I've been going there since 2010, and it was like something was off. And when you lose the voice of the Stretford End and they're not cheering you in the first 10 minutes of a match, like it usually is rocking, and they're quiet, it means they don't trust this squad. They don't trust this manager and what he's putting out every week. And we saw it. We saw it on Saturday. It's just really unfortunate, but it comes down to the fact where you and me would prefer Eric Ten Hag to stay to the end of the season and then have them make the transition. But if he keeps going this way, they're going to have to act because it's just going to get too toxic ultimately. And then that's kind of when players stop playing for the manager. So it's not up to you and me. Like I said, it's a results-based game, and results will keep the blood's in the water. The results will keep the Sharks at bay. But if it starts to slide and we continue to play the way we did against Fulham, it's just going to be a bad time. And no fan wants it to go that way. It's heartbreaking. It's been a rough year. And the last thing we need is to watch this team flounder more. It's like we want to see them fight. We want to go deep in the FA Cup. We want to try to get in the top 5. We want to turn this thing around. It still is possible, but man, it just all comes down to winning against Forest. So F everything you see in the press. It's all about the next game, and the next game is tomorrow. It's huge.
It is huge. It is huge. But you also would hope that it doesn't just come down to tomorrow. And I'm not even saying like keeping him or not keeping him. I'm keeping him now or getting rid of him in the summer. It's just like part of you just wants the less drama, right? There's so much drama associated with switching a manager up. So I'm hoping the boys show up, because the boys did not show up against Fulham, and they look like they are not interested in playing for the badge or the manager. So playing away is even more difficult. If you can't get them motivated, who's going to get this squad of bluffers motivated? Is it going to be McLaren? They're going to bring Ole one more time around? Or maybe they want to see who's not willing to run for the badge week in, week out. But either way, it's like you said, it's like the blood in the water. Journalists are begging we slip up, and United fans are just praying that we see some fight from the lads. Of course we want a good performance. Of course we want to win. But we haven't, we saw no semblance of fight until like the last 20 minutes of that game at Old Trafford. If they don't show fight at the City ground, sir, we're going to be in trouble.
Like I said, it literally is like, doesn't matter. Everyone's bluffing about the coach on Twitter. Everyone's going crazy. The journals are like, they're going way too hard in. It was a shit game against Fulham.
They're going studs up.
Look, it's shit football, bro. It's like when we're winning, it's shit. When we lose, it's worse. And 2 years into a project, playing football that looks like this and losing to the likes of Fulham and being where we are on the table, like the shots that we're conceding is insane. It's just like, it's not sustainable. And at the top levels of this game and this club, you're just going to be on the hot seat. Speaking of the hot seat, sir, quick PSA for the podcast. You like the American Red Devils? We are for fans, by fans. No commercial sponsors on the pod. Travel every year to go watch this great club. Cheer them on the Stretford End. And we don't have any sponsors. We save your time. We don't sell you anything you don't need. And the best way to support us is via Patreon, patreon.com/American Red Devils. Please check it out. We do a behind-the-scenes episode every single month. Tons of benefits. Best way to support the podcast. If Patreon's not your thing, check out AmericanDevils.store. Sell a bunch of merch there as well. Shirts, hoodies, scarves, beanies, you name it. Also, AmericanDevils.com for your blog content. Great fan blogs up there. Please support your fellow American Red Devils. Check out their content. Sir, tell them about iTunes reviews.
iTunes reviews and 5-star reviews of the American Devils podcast. Wherever you listen, it's a great way to support the pod. Helps us get found organically by other top fans like yourself. We're giving away free merch. All you have to do is write a 5-star review on iTunes or Spotify. Send a screenshot of the review with your mailing address to AmericanRedDevils@gmail.com. And I will pick, pack, and ship some free ARD gear. Send it right to your door anywhere in the world. Here's a great, fresh review. 5-star from Lord Dawes, #1 United pod. As a United follower from Long Island, I really had no place to go for in-depth pregame and post-game talk until I stumbled upon the pod, and now it's essential for game days. Thank you, Lord. Thank you to all those writing those 5-star reviews, sir. Let's get into it.
All right, sir, we got a next match. Next match is the most important match when your back is against the wall and you're in survival mode. And man, we are in survival mode. Everyone's all eyes on Manchester. Hated, adored, never ignored. Sir, Nottingham Forest versus Manchester United at the City Ground. FA Cup 5th round.
Proper.
It's Wednesday, February 28th, noon Pacific. I think it's actually 11:45 Pacific, which would be around 2:45 Eastern. I think that is kind of the strange kickoff that United have. Games won 53, games drawn 24, games lost 34. Lifetime versus Nottingham Forest. First time we ever played them, sir, 1892. We drew 1-1 in the first division of English football. Last 5, we've won 4, lost 1. Yeah, I double-checked it, sir. It's that weird kickoff, FA Cup, 11:45 a.m. Pacific, 2:45 p.m. Eastern.
Thank you for checking me, sir. It's good to know for my own sake. And last time we played at the City Ground, sir, we lost to a late winner from Gibbs White. So we know this team. They got Alonga. They're dangerous. They're dangerous at the counter. They're going to be compact. You know the City Ground is going to be up for it. This is a huge game for them. They have a massive stadium, because they are winners of the European Cup, and they're certainly be up for an FA Cup tie against Manchester United. So United need to show up with effort, even though we're gonna have a makeshift back four, and just show something. Whatever we saw at Fulham, I want to say the opposite of that, because like you said, you could tell in the pregame, you could tell just like the boys weren't tuned on. And we didn't look sharp at all. And Fulham looked way more tuned on. And I'm telling you, Forest are going to be up for it. They're always up for it. You watch them in the league; they always look a dangerous side. So if we snooze into this one, it could get ugly.
Yeah, look, and the last time we played them, they beat us 2-1. I mean, that's all you need to know. Last 5 for Nottingham Forest coming in, they drew Bournemouth, they drew Bristol City. Newcastle pipped them 3-2. They beat West Ham 2-0. Villa did beat them 4-2. But again, our away form, not great. We have been playing better as of late, but that was with Højlund kind of finding his form. The question for me is going to be scoring goals, ultimately, and then keeping a clean sheet. Little history on Nottingham Forest. They were founded in 1865. They've played their home games at the City Ground since 1898. What history. They've won 2 European Cups, being one of 6 English clubs to have won it. Their fiercest rivalry was with Derby County, in which they contest the East Midlands Derby.
Let's go, East Midlands.
Like you said, they play the 4-2-3-1. Alonga on the right, Gibbs White at 10, Hudson-Odoi on the left wing. Look, they're dangerous. We know exactly what they are. They're a lower half of the table team, but they are away. We do struggle against these teams, and I see no reason why they won't come out minute 1, punch us in the mouth, and take it all, sir. I don't see how, especially with these injuries. Let's get into that injury list. Luke Shaw, Martinez, Martial, Malacia, Højlund now 2 to 3 weeks. Mason Mount, Wan-Bissaka,
Jesus, it's long
Casemiro,
again.
Varane and Bruno are doubts from Ten Hag, and Casemiro, and also Harry Maguire will not be available. So
We went from being in a position where we had a really nice looking injury list only like 4 or 6 weeks ago. I think there were like 5. We were down to like 4 or 5 names, and all of a sudden we were back up to a huge list. So, if it wasn't already hard enough to play good football, playing it without this many players. So, who's going to show up? That's the question, sir. Who are you going to play? Here's the question: is like we got to stop all these shots. The amount of shots that we've given up in the Premier League compared to our rivals is astronomical. Like we're in the same bucket as the Luton Towns and the Burnleys of the world, and it doesn't matter how many goals you score. If you're giving up that many chances, you're going to concede. So can the manager finally be willing to be not a stubborn bastard and change things up a little bit, be a little bit more conservative, and trying to like build up from the back, but also plug in some players in the midfield for once? Because we saw that hole against Fulham. We know Carragher pointed it out. I think that's going to be the big question, isn't it?
I expect to see the same exact thing that we've seen all season, the same thing we saw against Villa, or even the teams that we beat with Luton, like basically conceding insane amounts of opportunities on the break, generating chances, but not converting them going forward. I mean, that's just been the MO of this team. We've seen it all year. The manager says he saw it against Fulham and fixed it 30 minutes in. And based on the game I saw, I don't think we fixed it, but it's a problem, and it doesn't really add up. You and me going to the EFL final, you can see Chelsea's not a great team, but the way that they're playing, the way they were able to absorb pressure from Liverpool, hit them on the counter, it was impressive. And also the way Liverpool was able to just like their press, they were trying to win the ball high and then turning into scoring chances. It's very evident what they're doing is working. United is just mashed potatoes. It's like all over the shop, gaping holes, like leaving people exposed in the midfield and on the back line. And it's like, we don't know what we're doing. It's not coherent strategy. So it's just, that to me is table stakes. So I think that's why there's so much heat right now, is that we haven't been able to fix it since the Wolves game when we kicked off the season. It's just been a lot of mashed potatoes, and like you said, injuries are to blame, but at the same time, if you don't have a system, even with players healthy, it might look a little better, but you're not going to get far.
No, I mean, at this point, the boy, he's got to just try something new. It hasn't been working. It barely worked when we had a fit 11, and that 11 lasted for like 2 game weeks, and even still, it wasn't to the quality that we saw last season, and we're giving up chances like nothing like we'd ever seen before. I mean, the amount of chances we're giving up is ridiculous, and now you've lost your goal scorer, right? Because Højlund you don't just lose the goals, you don't just lose the 5 in a row, 6 in a row in the league. His press is so helpful in this system, and also just keeping the other attackers with him. And like, tell you what, Rashford does not offer that same level of effort. So, like you said, I think there's almost 100% certainty we see the exact same thing we've seen all season. This coach is stubborn as an ox, and that will be his downfall. But how are you going to do it? He's going to do Rashford up front. He's not going to. I don't think he's going to do Amari again. I think you saw that didn't work. He's talking up Anthony in the press again. That's hilarious. Hopefully, the one positive would be like, hopefully we get to see Kobe shine. Hopefully he gets Kumbala a go.
Well, what's your 11?
And hope he gives Ahmad a go. Because there's, this is when you need to be creative beyond just formation, but with players as well, because we are like, go for it. Whoever you want to start, you can do it, because your injury list is long.
What's your 11?
Let's do, it's going to be Nana and net, I think, and I'm going to do, Dalot, Evans, Lindelof, Amrabat, Casemiro, Kobe, McTominay, Garnacho, Rashford, Ahmad. So I'm going to play McTominay at 10. So what do you got? That's going to be ugly football, baby. You hear the sound of that lineup? That ugly.
I'm going to say Onana in net, Kumbala. I'm going to say Evans, Lindelof, Dalot at left back. You're going to see Kobe, Bruno, Eriksson. You're going to have Garnacho, Rashford, and Antony. You're going to get Antony no matter what. On this game, Antony, look, Antony's going to start.
85 million.
It's the way it's going to be. It's like, hey, he's going to go down with the ship. That's like that. Any manager should do it. It's like he's going to go down with the ship with his boy Antony doing spin wheels out on the wing. Given the what do you got from the bookies, sir?
I mean, I would like that midfield. I think it'd be worth changing it up because we've been so vulnerable in the midfield. Bookies, Forest, the underdogs. I think if we were at Ladbrokes right now, sir, we'd be betting Forest. Plus 210 for them at home, plus 240 for the draw, which means it goes to extra time, and plus 110 for United on the Roadster in normal time. What is your score prediction?
Look, I think everyone's against United right now. It was a horrible game against Fulham. We have the quality to beat Nottingham Forest. But then again, I thought there was no way that we wouldn't beat Fulham. It's going to be a coin flip. And since I'm a Muppet, I'm going to say 2-1 to United.
Yeah, I think the pain train continues, and I think it's like full lead up to the City game, and that, you know how it goes. So I'm going to call 3-1 Forest, and United get booted out of the FA Cup.
How dare you?
Sir, can't
call yourself a fan.
Can't fool my eyes.
This is the foreman of the excuse factor right here. Come on.
He's excuse factor. He's jet lagged. I got nothing. Bro. I'm calling like I see it, bro. I got 3-1. It could be 4-1.
No, it won't be that bad. Short of the players just giving up on the manager, which is not out of the question.
Which they kind of look like they were doing on Saturday.
Yeah, but it's not like, it's like, unfortunately, at that point, it's like the roster's been he's whittled through it all, dude. Survival football and all, and here we are. So let's hope it's not that bad. Let's get into the news.
United in the news, sir.
United in the news. Getting into it, Erik ten Hag was defiant in his presser today. Look, he was getting asked a lot of tough questions, like him getting asked questions about Jamie Carragher, like running the analysis on Monday Night Football. Like nothing,
I know.
Like
so
nothing Carragher said, for the record, is like revolutionary. It's like we've been talking about on this pod the whole time. Like I've been talking about the midfield, been talking about how we're playing, how it's not working, how we're basically throwing the kitchen sink going forward, leaving ourselves so vulnerable, and then not generating a lot of quality chances, and then not even scoring those chances, and then we're like literally gifting the opponents like so many opportunities, and it's like clearly that should have been stopped a long time ago. Ten Hag has not prioritized like structuring the midfield in a way to be organized and pragmatic with the ball. We just literally want to get it high and do this press that is disjointed. This has been happening all year. I mean, and what's amazing is we have great talent, even with players down. Eriksen, Bruno, and Kobe in the midfield should be able to play this way and dominate Fulham and dominate Nottingham Forest. So the idea, like, you have to have like Casemiro from 5 years ago at Real Madrid to be able to play football is insane. You need a good system, and when you're giving up, defense wins championships. So you can't concede these shots. You can't concede all this XG and have it not catch up with you. And that's something, like you said, he's stubborn. He hasn't made the adjustment. And what's kind of weird to me is, like, in the press, he acts like he has made the adjustments, and like you can literally with your eyes see it. He hasn't. We were there in person, and it looks even worse. And so I think that's really the tension with the press and all the pressure on the manager. He's trying to shine up a turd. He's trying to say it is one thing and it's not. And I ultimately think that this will all flow out. If it's the end of the season or if he gets fired, all the bullshit's going to come out in like 24 hours through all the media. It's going to come out. And I think it's some sort of locker room to do. There was something about Rashford today. He's not getting along with Ten Hag. It wouldn't surprise me given how much Rashford has fucked off this season and hasn't wanted to play. Now, is that appropriate to do if you're Marcus Rashford?
Probably
no,
not.
but it's also like, hey, have you ever been unmotivated at a job because your boss is an asshole? Like, I mean, that does happen. These are human beings. Rashford does look like a softie. If you had to pick him out of a lineup, he does look like he is a little emo. So, just a lot of bullshit about the manager, but it comes down to one thing. You win, people shut the fuck up. You lose, and you play like shit. You're the manager of Manchester United. Nothing's free in this world. And by the way, like, the owner is saying, we got to be playing the best football in the world. And if you saw that Fulham game, there's nothing farther from. And that's why he's getting shit. That's why he's getting a lot of tough questions here.
No, 100%, sir. And his stubbornness will bear him. And we didn't see this same level of stubbornness last year. I don't think so. I think he was a little bit more flexible. Obviously, I think we had less injuries. But even when we did have those injuries, the form fell off, right? When we lost Martinez, we were definitely a different team last year. But even still, I feel like he was willing to tinker a little bit with formation. This year, it's been the same thing. And we went undefeated until last game. But like you said, it wasn't great performances. But we had a lot of our players, and the players go away.
We also had like a
Now
3-week break. We had like a 3-week, it's like, we didn't
break.
play a lot of games. Like, it's probably like the least packed part of our schedule. You know what I'm saying? So I also just wanted to mention that.
Yeah, sure.
It's not like we went like 11 games without losing. It was like
February.
5.
Yes, yes. February is a short month, and there's a break
Yeah.
in January. But like we did win some games. That's all I'm saying, bro. So we won some games, but he also had his 11 back. He had Martinez back. He had Casemiro back. He had Luke Shaw back, and then they all go down injured. And performances have shifted. But at the beginning of the season, the performances weren't good enough either way. So all I'm trying to say, all I'm trying to say is the man needs to be flexible, and he hasn't been flexible all season, and that's going to kill him. So, like, can he finally be flexible? He was flexible against Liverpool. He got a result for considering how outclassed we were on that day. And I'm not saying United should be hoping to get a draw, but like at Anfield, that's not a bad result. If you go into City and try to get a draw and get one, that's not a bad result. Forest, you need to win, but you also need to win in a style that's conducive with the team that you have available. And right now, he doesn't have this team to go balls to the wall, so he needs to like fucking be willing to change it up, or he is on Schitt's Creek, bro, on a one-way ticket. So that's all I'm saying is like, how stubborn is this man? Is he unwilling to back up? All right, bro, go ahead.
Back up, sir. Well, is he unwilling to what?
Is he unwavering in his approach?
So. The only point pushback on the injuries, and the only, Fulham had their top 3 players out, right? And they didn't play shit football, right? So the whole idea is like, yes, injuries should make you get wins or not get wins. Injuries are a reason to not win the league, right? So like Arsenal has a big injury or City has a big injury. It's like, it can impact you trying to like, say win the league. You're not going to get those extra 3 points in those 2 or 3 games or whatever. Big defenders out or something. With United, it's like, even with our good players in, we still play like shit, but then we might have like, a moment of brilliance to win. And then the problem is just like, it's not good. It's like having West Ham dominate us, and like we did beat them 3-0, but like that's not a great reflection of how the match was played. And so I think really the issue is that like, even with our best players back, we're barely skimping by, and the games are not like, we're not dominating the game and playing a full 90 minutes. That's something we've been talking about on this pod for the entire season, is like, we need a game plan that works from the jump. We dominate the match for 90 minutes. We impose our will on our opposition, and like, that has not occurred. I mean, again, it goes back to the Burnley B team. That's the last time I really saw us do
Palace.
that. I keep messing that up.
Yeah, you don't have to dominate.
Yeah,
you don't have to dominate right now in order to like for United fans to be satisfied. You just have to play and not look like shit. And like, I know we all want to be dominating and win the league, but that's not happening today, bro.
No, but it's not dominating. But like, even when we won,
not play shit football. Have a conducive, have like a style that works, and be flexible enough to game to game, depending on who you're playing and who you have. It's like he's done the same thing every fucking game, and it hasn't worked, and it kind of worked. I would argue. I guess you wouldn't argue that for like 6 weeks, and then it stopped working.
Against the League Two sides, we were conceding 17
we beat Villa. I mean, we won 4 games. I'm talking about the 4 games we won, bro. I'm not talking about Palace in the fall, in November, when we played good for 90 minutes. I'm just saying.
We won that. We played of
Hoyland
the games
scored
that we're talking about. We won. Of the games we're talking about that we won, the League Two side had 17 shots on us and had us against the ropes. It's like, the issue is, no matter how bad the team we play is, we're conceding tons of opportunities, which means that the system we're playing in is just literally not working.
Yes, which is why he should switch it up. Which is why he should.
Which is like,
bro.
Yes, or have a system. Like at the end of the day, like, that's really the problem. Is you look at the Manchester United in the Premier League, there's only 3 teams that on average have had 16 plus shots in 14 games. That's Manchester United, Sheffield United, and Luton. Like, that's horrific.
He has a system that's just not working. Like, it's not like he's saying, go out there and just kick the fucking ball around. It's just that the system that we are approaching games to this season is not working, and he must change it up. So, like, the system, he's unwavering in it, but it is failing, and he needs to change that. So, obviously, there is a system, but the system is the wrong system. That's what I'm getting at. It's the wrong system, and he's completely inflexible to changing a new system. So until he does, I think we're going to continue to play shit football, and that's that. We're going to leak all our chances.
I think it's clear.
And we have
Yeah,
no
that
goal
system-
scorer. We don't have a backup striker. So like Hoyland was scoring, and now who's going to score goals? Rashford ain't. No one else is. So
And the system we're playing is shit football. That's what I'm trying to say. Is like the system we are playing is literally like not having any semblance of control in the game, even when we need it, and the like gifting like high X threat XG opportunities to like lower opposition at home and like counter hero ball against like Luton, and that's like literally what we're doing, and it's not sustainable. I think that's why there's so much outrage about it. But like again, it doesn't matter because the season is what it is. You are what your record says, and we deserve to, either go on in the FA Cup or not, and that's going to be based around tomorrow. And like I really think all this stuff has been bubbling all season. I don't think it's like a revolution. I just think that for whatever reason, the press get all huffy about it, and when the manager, we've all seen it with Mourinho and all the managers come before. When you start sweating and then the manager starts telling you everything's fine and it ain't, that's when they all come for you. And this is exactly what happened. Eric Ten Hag said, like, Fulham game was great and we played well and we should have won. And people freak out when the manager does that shit. And it's like, and when you're year 2 into a project and you're playing against Fulham like that at home and you look that bad, like, you're going to get, you can't, it's hard to protect your boy. It's like the manager's going to get roasted. And it's a culmination of this season, which has been rough on all fronts. It's been rough for all fans, and let's hope we can like put Fulham past us and start putting down a marker. But like here in the Stretford End, quiet at home and seeing Rashford walking around and people literally having a go at Marcus Rashford, it seems like things have gotten toxic at Manchester United, and it's almost like we need to. Everyone needs to go on vacation, bro. Everyone needs to like go to the Caribbean, relax, and come back next year because it seems like it's getting really toxic. And I hate this phase, and you and me hate it. And it's just like it's the worst time to be a fan when your manager's on the ropes and people are digging you and Carragher's coming for you, and it's all this crap. And so it's just like ignore the noise, tune into the games. We all know it's been rough, but let's just see where it heads. And I'm hoping that we can finish with some sort of dignity and not go like a
too much
Rangnick.
Positivity. That's where we're at.
I don't want to go to a Rangnick.
We're there,
like,
bro.
You saw it up on the last day.
No, you
like,
saw it at Old Trafford.
That was the most embarrassing thing I've ever. Yes, exactly.
But you saw it at Fulham, bro. It feels exactly the same way as that game.
The same feeling.
And guess what? The boys gave up for Ole at Liverpool when I saw them, and guess what? They gave up for Mourinho. And I'm not defending this fucking coach. That's not what I'm going on. I'm just saying is like it's already over. They've already given up on the manager. Even my boy Bruno, bro, didn't look that fussed. So like it's over. It's over. And that's the question I'm asking you is like, how does Ratcliffe play this? Is like you do it now and make a big fucking commotion, or you just like hope he? Are you doing it this summer? That's the question.
I already know.
Now or in
I
the
already
summer?
know. I already know.
Tell me.
I already know. Ineos doesn't like. If I had to call what's going on and read the tea leaves like today, Ineos doesn't want him. It's clear that there's way too much drama in the background and that this thing has gone toxic. This is like a toxic relationship.
Yeah,
with
they want him out.
The manager, the club, the players. Everyone's cooked on the Dutchman. Like it's over, dude. Like, and they know it. And Ineos coming in is like they're just keeping their mouth shut and they're just hoping that it doesn't get toxic. Because what Ineos is going to do is they're going to go around and talk to other managers like now. Like they're going to do that most likely in March, and they're hoping that he can just like put together some results. So it doesn't get so overwhelmingly toxic where they have to make a move, because all you're going to get is Steve McClaren. So like the only way and like the only reason to get rid of Ten Hag is it gets so untenable where the players don't want to play and the press is just gunning for you. And then you just get rid of him and you say interim to the end of the season, we find someone else. And then it's all focused on the new guy. And then like all the drama goes. And like at that point, the season's over. And so I think the whole idea is we're still in the
season's
FA Cup.
Over.
We're still on the bubble. And so I hope that we can just like get some results, not get embarrassed against City, and just keep this going so it doesn't have to get like overly, I don't think the hot seat, I don't want it to turn up anymore. I just want us to like stop the bleeding and then just like get to the end of the season and like assess from there. I think that's what Ineos wants to do. Probably play both sides in the background, but it sounds to me like the way Ratcliffe was talking and like Fulham ain't helping the cause. I don't even think there's any, Also I'll add on to the fact that Eric Ten Hag's like in the press being like, I talked to Ineos, they really like me.
No, it's over, bro. It's like
that's not a good
it's
look
very
either.
clearly over between the manager for a variety of reasons. Like they want a fresh start, right? He made a lot of bad signings with some shit football. Enjoy the EFL Cup last year, but they want a fresh start, as they should. We need a fresh start. And you've seen it, bro. The players are downing tools, and the manager is, like you said, he's making excuses.
That's it.
Hold on. He's making excuses in the press. He's defending stuff that's indefensible. He's seeing things that aren't there, and it's like you've seen it with all the previous managers, and the combination of that plus the players not giving a fuck is like but as you said, these guys are not idiots. They're not the Glazers. They're not reactionary. They want to play it slow. They're here for the long con. And that's basically it. It's like, how ugly does it get? Does it get so hot because they keep losing that the press makes it untenable for us to keep the manager?
Yes, exactly.
Or does like the simmer just like boil over everyone? It'll boil over.
Yeah, because they're going to question their backbone. They're going to question the owner's backbone, right? They're going to question.
Well, anyway,
no, because eventually,
coming knives out, bro.
If it becomes that bad and the fans are that hostile and everything gets so toxic, they're going to question the ownership, and then like as soon as it gets there, they got to make a move. That's what they don't want. So they want to keep it kind of like, is he going to stay? Is he not going to stay? They can shop at other deals in the background, find the right guy. I really, the biggest indictment to me is like, I don't even have a vote. The Stretford end is the vote. You lose the Stretford end. You lost. And that to me was it. And it was like the most bizarre thing when we got there and I'm like ready to get going. It's like the first 10 minutes of the game. And that's like when the Stretford end is kicking off. And it's like, it did not. And it was like very eerie. It was and that to me was it. That's it.
And it wasn't like that a year ago. It wasn't like that against Wolves. It wasn't the atmosphere of a fucking PSG or a Liverpool, but it wasn't like Saturday. Saturday was like, it was odd. There was a whole vibe that was over Old Trafford. And I was expecting optimism, not even because we won some games. I was up to
I thought so.
I thought we'd have optimism because of all the Ratcliffe news, because that's exciting. Me as a fan, that's what I'm looking forward to.
4 games on the trot.
But even like we didn't play good football. But I thought, remember, he came out in the presser. It got ratified by the SEC. Like he made all these bold statements about the long-term vision of Old Trafford and what he wants to do with the team and how he's not here for money. Like I thought that would have contributed to a good atmosphere over the weekend. And I think, like you said, it's like they're sick of shit football, bro. They've seen more of it than you and I. Because when you see it in person, it's a totally different animal. And it's like, how low do we go, bro? How bad does it get before they basically have their hand forced?
Next bit of news, Jim Ratcliffe, Manchester United's national stadium plan backed. Sir, you want to give an update here on the stadium?
So they're being coy about it. Ratcliffe has spoken about his intention to build out, the surrounding area around Old Trafford. He wants to build a great northern stadium, i.e. he wants a Wembley of the North. He wants a stadium that they could host football events, rugby events, FA Cup ties, that don't necessarily have to go down to London, to the capital, in order to be staged at Wembley. He's like, if you talk about the significance of football and concentration, it's in the North. He's like, we hold, most of the Champions League. They hold most of the titles. And if you look between Liverpool, City, and United, that is true. So long time coming. We're still waiting for the details, but he's looking for basically some money, some tax rebates, some like counter investment from the government to put in for the new stadium. They're on board, local municipalities also they're on board, but it's about like how much money they put up. US, we would be throwing money up at a Ratcliffe, willing to put money into a Manchester United equivalent in the States, but things are a little bit different right now from a finance perspective in the UK and England. So we'll see what happens. Like you said, you and I were taking that train up and down. We would have really liked that new high-speed rail that we had heard about like a decade ago that they just squashed. So kind of all bets are off the table. But what happens to Old Trafford will be something that we all keep an eye on in the coming weeks and months.
Yeah, I mean, I think this is just going to be, they're going to do the best option that's on the table. And right now they're exploring a few. I doubt they're going to get public funding. I mean, the idea is like, they want to redevelop the wharf, but I just doubt that that's going to be something they're going to be able to do. I would love to see it, but it's more of like where do the chips fall? But we'll keep you posted on the stadium. Next bit of news here from Adam Crafton. talks about Omar Barada holding meetings with senior MUFC execs looking to hit the ground running, taking over this summer. Look, Barada is already getting in the mix, and that's great to see. Great to see.
It's great to see Omar Barada. We're excited for him to get on board. There's been quiet news on the Ashworth watch. We're all like with bated breath, excited to see where that goes. I think they're making progress on finding an agreement. What we're hearing from the Ratcliffe camp, from the Ineos camp, is they want him in sooner rather than later. They don't want a year and a half of gardening leave. So hopefully they can come to an agreement, like United did with City, and we can get our man because we have big business to do this summer. That was another story that broke, which breaks every fucking summer or every lead up to every summer. But, sorry, call it for me. Big summer overall, 10 double-digit players being sold, and it never happens because we give players absurd wages or have unrealistic expectations about their resale value. But this is going to be very interesting this summer, sir, is like, Anthony ain't good enough. He ain't good enough in the Premier League. But, like, what is an Ineos willing to take for an Anthony, or do they give it another go-around with a new coach and see if they can get a higher valuation the following year or turn that little, spinny guy into something useful in the Premier League?
Next bit of news, talking about the manager, there's a lot of rumblings about he's not received official support from Ratcliffe. I think this is probably accurate because why would he get official support from Ratcliffe before he finishes the season? I doubt Ineos are going to make that call. And then as far as Fabrizio Romano, he said Erik ten Hag has very good chances to remain as manager for the next season. Again, it comes from Romano. It's good, but you don't know if it's coming from Erik ten Hag's camp or United. Romano did have really good connections to United in the past with Arnold and Murtaugh and obviously Woodward, but I don't know if he has good connections at Ineos. So it's going to be interesting to see what is right. Because again, there was another article linking Zinedine Zidane. This strikes me as this is just everyone's clickbait United this week. Clickbait United. They just want, get people click on stuff right now. It's just absolutely just bananas. And it sucks to be Erik ten Hag. Historical article about the Manchester United players wanting a day off after the Fulham game, which makes no sense given they lost. And then we also have a game against Nottingham Forest, and we're playing horribly. But apparently people wanted days off. It was rejected by Erik ten Hag's staff. This could go to the point where I think Rooney on Gary Neville's podcast was talking to how when Van Gaal was there, he really was a great manager, but all the off the field, like disciplinary stuff from the Dutch perspective, like turned everybody off. And, if it does come out against Ten Hag, it's probably something like that, where like he's just so demanding off the pitch that the players are sick of it. And that happened with Van Gaal. And so, the Dutch are stubborn, they're tough. And, like Van Gaal would make everyone eat. And they all had to sit down until he was done with his meal. So they would all sit there. He would get his food last, and that motherfucker was eating so slow just to piss everybody off.
Yeah, like the king, bro.
And so he was like, after they did training, they were there for like 5 hours a day, and it was like I could just see Ten Hag doing shit like that as well, like just because it runs in the it probably runs in the family when it comes to Dutch coaching. But regardless. Sir, happy to jump into fan questions.
Let's do it.
Unless there's other news.
No, I mean, this one is just, like I said, probably a mix of like Dutch stubbornness and our players being soft. So I really enjoyed that Rooney interview. So thanks for sharing that and all the anecdotes around how it's like, it don't matter if, and they liked him on the pitch. He was talking about Van Gaal. He liked, he liked him as a coach, but it pissed all the players off so much that like, it's the off-field shit that matters most probably at the end of the day, because that's most of these players' lives.
Absolutely. Jumping to fan questions at D_18. Based on wages, performance, and attitude, what players do we have to move on from in the summer? Playing without a recognized striker will be tough against Forest. Sit-back style. With everything that's been going on at Manchester United in the press, I could see us losing this 1-0. This team has no teeth, no heart. So first, moving people on, I think it's got to be everyone. Is on the list. Everyone's up for sale except for Nacho, Højlund, and Kobe, in my opinion. I would sell Bruno and Rashford depending on the market, right? If you could get good money for either of those players or both. They have to be available. Looking at this season, it's not something we can build on. Inconsistency, moaning, it's just not something that we can invest in long term.
No, and you need whoever the coach is, you need players that are willing to run for their manager. And I'm not saying both of them won't run for their manager, but like they're getting older, they're on high wages, and this is going to be a long, slow burn. It's like United needs to get back to making money so we can pay off the debt, so we can finance a stadium, so we can finance a new training ground, and so we can buy players. And one of the things they're going to do is they're going to ship the heaviest contracts. And Varane, they're not going to renew. Casemiro, they're going to try to sell. Obviously, like the duds, they're going to try. I mean, Sancho is like the priority, number one, because he's getting the least amount of output, given how high his wages are. But then, like you said, the hard questions are going to be, can you get a reasonable fee for Marcus Rashford, for Bruno Fernandes, sell those players and put it into youngsters of the mold of the 3 players that you mentioned that are untouchable, which I agree with. So it's like, I think they're going to sell as many players as they can this summer for good fee. It depends what the market is willing to offer. And I don't know. I don't know if Saudi's going to go as wild as they did last year, right? They were trying to like make a splash. They already got the World Cup, so they might slow down the investment to kind of like build out this new league. So that'll be very interesting to see is like who's got the money, because they have tightened FFP. You would imagine some of the teams in the Premier League will spend a little less, so that'll be an interesting one to watch.
Yeah, it's just gonna be opportunistic selling. So who, there could be someone who wants Bruno and you'll sell him. There could be no one's offering you real money for Rashford, so you don't sell him. It's all gonna be dependent on what people want to buy. And like you said, this January was completely different shift from the past January.
Right.
So United could be stuck with dead wood. But that's also another argument to sort of reset everything with the new coach, because I feel like you could reset a bunch of player relationships that might get a tune out of some players again, because you can't get rid of them. So you need another way to sort of get them up for it. And obviously, changing coaches is a way to do that. Not saying it's the right way, but it is a way. At the fan of United, quote, why doesn't Ten Hag seemingly trust our young, promising right wingers? He seems so reluctant to play Ahmad and Facundo, but he'll start forcing. Thankfully, he finally stopped playing Anthony, but I do not understand not playing Ahmad when he did so well at Sunderland.
I think we figured this out at Colbert over the best coffee in London, which is, why did Klopp put on all those youngsters in the cup final? And like, he had injuries, sure. But as I think it was Gary Neville said, like he could have also rode that starting 11 into the ground that game. And I think it like gives him a certain amount of leeway if he was to lose that game. And I think Erik ten Hag is in such a desperate position, given how poor the team has been this season, that like he needs any gimme he can get. And he thinks like, well, if I give another youngster a start, maybe that will build me some leeway with the fans and the press if and when we lose. Because but at the same time, last year he wouldn't start Facundo, he wouldn't play Facundo, and he would just stick with his boy Wout. So it's like he's stubborn, but I thought he was doing that on Mari start a little bit opportunistically to give him some cloud cover. What did you think?
I think this manager is so inconsistent when it comes to evaluating talent that it's irrational. Like how he did not play Ahmad in the FA Cup when we're playing like League Two sides, and he didn't give him like 20 minutes is insane, because at the end of the day, you're going to have injuries, and then you're going to need that player to come through, and you need to have him have minutes. And like, if Forson's better than him, then he should be playing. He never really managed the roster well and getting the youngsters those critical minutes, so when they need to start. So again, I think honestly he has something against Ahmad. Like he has a lot of things against a lot of players, and that's the reason why the roster, which is a certain size, even shrinks, because he only wants to play certain people. And you know what? Ahmad couldn't get minutes because he kept putting Anthony the Bluffer in for a year and a half, and then now finally we get down the depth chart. Ahmad might get minutes, but he decides to put on Forson, who clearly isn't as good as Ahmad. So to me, it's a bad look when Ahmad comes on and is like amazing, and like he started Forson, who looked like completely unpolished and too young. And oh, by the way, if you're going to get him in, you should have got him in against the League Two side, not against Fulham at home. So it's all over the place, and it's not really helping United. I think that's just like great to see a youngster get a start, but the order of operations here is all over the place and almost set up to fail.
I agree. I mean, he definitely has to bleed these players earlier. No one's going to argue about starting a kid, but Ahmad should be playing minutes, and he does the subs at the 85th minute, and it makes no sense. And a lot of decisions this year really make no sense. So a lot of questions.
the Anthony sub in the 99th minute too also didn't make sense. Very strange, but I just feel like last year his subs couldn't go wrong, and this year I feel like every single one has been off.
It feels like everything like that, like the transfers.
Last year we had a way to play, and then if it didn't work, we'd make an adjustment, and then we would figure it out. And this year it just seems like something's off. Like I said, I think this is just something happened. It happened in preseason, and the fallout of that has been this entire year. And obviously, getting some players back from injuries has helped, but there's a fight going on inside this club, and that's why Rashford looks like not a real player and is partying in Belfast and lying to the manager. That's the whole season. It's basically like a shit
toxic
club in Belfast.
That's toxic, bro.
It's like a shit club in Belfast.
That's about where we've been. That's about where
United should
we
be
are
like,
a shit club in Belfast at the moment. You should be the poshest club in London, bro. Popping bottles.
No, we should be I don't even remember the names of the clubs in Vegas, but it should be like Hakkasan Vegas. It should be Manchester United. But
Tau,
we're like a
Tau Vegas,
shit club
Nikki
in
Beach, Miami, bro. Yeah, and now we're in
beat up Belfast, bro.
There you go. Well, that's about right, because we're in a bad shape, bro. The players are a mess. Coach's got to go. It's ugly everywhere you look.
At Randy Scrandy L, she says, quote, "Say we lose tomorrow. Is there any reason we keep Ten Hag around without a chance at winning anything? Surely an interim can't make us look any more pathetic. Sticking by this guy until the end of the season gives weird followers more hope he stays. It's ridiculous." Sir, as far as tomorrow, no, you do not sack him because you want him to be the one to take the fall for Haaland hitting 6 against us on the weekend. Surely if we lose tomorrow and we get embarrassed by City, I don't think he can survive that. Unfortunately, I do not think that will happen. I think we will win tomorrow. I think we will pack it in against City and play a respectable game because we always rise to the opponent. So I just don't think that, the worst case scenario is going to happen. We've been kind of surviving all year, and I just think that it would be more inconsistency. Never really make a run, never really get to that 5th spot, but we'll get close, but no cigar. So Europa League it is.
I think they won't do it until we're mathematically out of Europe, including not Champions League, including Europa League. Until we're in that bottom heap, we're still in that close enough to those teams fighting for 4th and 5th behind Spurs. We're not going to catch Villa, but we can catch Spurs. Until we're with those other crew, with Newcastle and Brighton and everybody else, then you sack them. Until then, it's you just run out the season, use this time as cloud cover, find a new manager, and do it quietly. Middle of the season, it just becomes a fucking circus, and everything's a circus united. But that's what I would do, but it also depends on how bad does it get.
Cooked by City.
Doesn't matter, though, bro. You can cook by City and then cobble together results against Luton Town and Everton and all this shit. It's about Europe. It's about getting back into Europe, and we've been embarrassed before. But the problem is we've seen how players, how teams play under interim managers, bro, and it ain't always good. Rangnick was rough. That was a rough 5 months.
No, and exactly. I'm not saying it's the best thing to have us make Europe. I'm just saying the crescendo of there's always the press come out with their knives. Then you're eliminated from the FA Cup. Then it goes to a 10. You think right now this shit flying online, and then the press is bad.
You get smoked 5-0.
We lose FA Cup, boom, and then City, and then it's about what level.
It's the game after. It's the game after the City game. It's some winnable team. Who we play? We're playing
It's basically a bunch of monkeys in a cage shitting in their hand and throwing at each other, and it's just once it hits a certain velocity of shit being thrown, it just becomes untenable, right? And then the pressure builds, right? And that the backbreaker could be that City, only because you're coming off a shit Fulham. You get bounced out of the FA Cup, and then your rival just dunks on you, and it's how bad is that? And then that's just kind of when it's kind of all right, we got to stop the bleeding.
As we know, it's not the death blow. It's not the Liverpool 5-0. It's the game after. It's the following weekend. Yes. Everton at home. You have a performance like you did against Fulham or worse. We've seen Bournemouth smoke us at home.
Look, this is not going to happen. We're going to beat I'm confident against Nottingham Forest. And it's just, I'm confident against Nottingham Forest. It's just how bad is City going to be? Like, how bad is the Derby going to be? Because Holland scored 5 against Luton, looks pretty good, and they like just dunking on us. And that, like, if they dunk on us, and then they could go on a run and win the league. I mean, that's the unfortunate part. Just the way it is. Last tweet here at JackBorn86. Sirs, FA Cup or bust, top 4 in a trophy. Hope to see the lads up for this match.
Love the
That's
optimism.
what's about.
I love the optimism. Yeah. Well,
You're-
imagine if we
you
pull
and
off top
me-
4 in a trophy. That would be.
We don't know.
I'd be
shit,
eating
bro.
my words, bro. I'd be eating that humble pie. And everybody else would be too, but I don't see it.
All we're like, I think we're going to come out like a bunch of bluffers based on what I saw in the warm up at home. But you know what? If we come out full of piss and vinegar and Nottingham Forest and take it to them, great. Like, and that's a good sign. But this is back against the wall. Need a reaction out of the 11. And you know what? Sometimes when you're back against the wall, that is what gives you the reaction. But the fact the players wanted a day off doesn't jive with that.
That is a bad sign.
That's not like,
You think Wayne Rooney was asking for?
like,
I mean,
hey,
if
boss,
they won
I
an
effed
FA
up.
Cup
Can I have a
final.
day off? Hey, boss, we just like lost in embarrassing
Look like
fashion.
shit
Can I
at
just have
home.
a day off to go to Belfast? Like, yeah, exactly.
what are you expecting tomorrow? I'm expecting shitfootball.com.
Mentality monsters.
.co.uk, bro. Shitfootball.co.uk. That's what you can get.
All right, that's it. That's the podcast you like, the America Red Devils. You can support us on Patreon, patreon.com/America Red Devils. Check out AmericaRedDevils.store for your ARD merch, AmericaRedDevils.com. Sir, do you have our last top downloads last 7 days?
You know it's their number one. How you doing? Los Angeles, California, Dublin, Ireland, Chicago, Illinois, Melbourne, Australia, Brooklyn, New York, Washington, D.C., Charlotte, North Carolina, Birmingham, England. All right, like that. New York, and last but not least, San Francisco, California. Appreciate all the American Devils listening week in, week out. Big game tomorrow. Sink or swim, baby. We're going to find out, and we're going to keep you posted all about it, and then we're going to break down City, sir. Appreciate you. Have a great week, everybody. We'll talk to you soon.